Well, welcome to Tuesday at virtual CCYC. How are you doing? This strange week of activities. Memory verses, have you done them? I don't know. Our devotions this morning again are about seeing Jesus. John the Baptist, he saw Jesus. Peter in the storm, he saw Jesus. Here we have an incident which is wonderful in many ways in the life of Peter, James and John. It's called the Transfiguration. And it says this in Matthew, it's Mark's Gospel, I beg your pardon, chapter number 9, it says this, verse number 2. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James and John with him, led them up a high mountain, where they were all alone. There he was transfigured before them. His clothes became dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could bleach them. And there appeared before them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, it's good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you and one for Moses and one for Elijah. He did not know what to say. They were so frightened. Then a cloud appeared and enveloped them. And a voice came from the cloud, This is my son whom I love. Listen to him. Suddenly, when they looked round, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus gave them orders not to tell anyone what they had seen until the Son of Man had risen from the dead. They kept the matter to themselves, discussing what rising from the dead meant. And they asked him, Why did the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first? Jesus replied, To be sure, Elijah does come first and restores all things. Why then is it written that the Son of Man must suffer much and be rejected? But I tell you, Elijah has come, and they have done to him everything they wished, just as it is written about him. And that's the conversation that Jesus had with the disciples coming down from the mountain. But Peter, James and John seem to be an inner triangle in the disciples. You can't have an inner circle with 3, can you? So it's got to be an inner triangle. Peter, James and John. Peter went on to be the leader of the church. He spoke at Pentecost. He wrote possibly Mark's Gospel, as we're reading here with Mark. He wrote letters, did great things for God. John wrote the Gospel, Revelation, 3 letters, did great things for God. James died in a prison not long after Jesus rose and ascended back to heaven. But these 3 men were taken by Jesus up a mountain, and they saw Jesus in a way they've never seen him before. Oh, they did see the miracles, they'd heard him speaking, they'd seen him do wonderful, amazing things. But here they go up a mountain. It was hard work climbing a mountain and coming down again. But it was worth it for these 3 men. Sometimes Jesus will take us up a mountain which we find difficult, hard work, struggling. But we get to the top and we see Jesus. And they saw Jesus in a way that nobody else in the whole of the history of the world had ever seen Jesus before. They'd never seen anything like it. They get to the top of this mountain and Jesus is transfigured. He becomes whiter, the clothes become whiter than anyone on earth could bleach them. And he talks with Elijah and Moses, and they're discussing, in another gospel it tells us, his exodus from the world. They're talking about him dying and leaving the world. And Peter, James and John are there. They're tired from climbing the mountain. And they see this, and they hear them talking, and Peter, he says, I don't know what to say, but I'd better say something. So he says to them, let's make 3 booths, 3 shelters. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. And then a cloud comes down. And out of the cloud comes a voice. This is my beloved son. Listen to him. And the cloud lifts and there's only Jesus there. The incomparable Jesus. There's nobody like him. He's the only one who can take away the sin of the world. We learn that from John. Yesterday we talked about Jesus in the storm, the only one that can walk on water. And here God opens the eyes and the ears of these three men who are going to do great things for God. He says, this is my son. Don't make him the same as anybody else. Moses was a great man, fantastic leader of God's people. Elijah was a great prophet, powerful and mighty. And John the Baptist, as Jesus refers to later on, is that Elijah who was to come. But Jesus is incomparable. Nobody matches up to Jesus. We hear great preachers, we hear great so-called prophets in our world today. But Jesus is above them all. This is my son. Listen to him. And Peter meant well when he wanted to put Jesus and Moses and Elijah in three booths all together on the same level. But God steps in and says, no, my son is above them all. There are great preachers, there are great teachers, but nobody compares to Jesus. Peter went on to do great things, write books. John went on to do great things and write books. And James died in a prison because of the whim of Herod, who wanted to please the people. But all three had to have this experience. You know, sometimes we meet our heroes and they're a disappointment. The Queen of Sheba goes to visit Solomon in the Old Testament. When she gets there, she asks him questions and all kinds of things and discuss things with him. She says, you know, the half hasn't been told me. You're far more wonderful than I ever thought you were going to be. How wonderful to be with you. And she goes home contented because she's met somebody that exceeded her expectations. You know, Jesus will always exceed our expectations. There's nobody to compare with Jesus. Dear friends, at camp, virtual camp, let's listen to what Jesus says. Teachers, preachers are great, but we need to understand that Jesus is the main one. Oh, let's listen to Jesus today, and let's not have him on the same level as anybody else. Let's have him high above all. God bless you today.